Hey, and welcome to the Creative Marketing Show. I'm your host, Angela S. Joyon. This is the podcast for ambitious women in business looking to cut the BS, stop dancing for likes, and learn to create honest and genuine marketing strategies that don't cause burnout and overwhelm. Have a question about content creation, social media, or maybe you're looking for more clarity on how to take your business to the next level. This is the show that brings the answers to your questions each and every week. Hello, and welcome back to the Creative Marketing Show. This is a continuation of a series that I've been running very quick. It's all based off an experience I recently have. So this is actually lesson 3. So part 3 of the series. If you haven't listened to the first 2 recordings or watched on YouTube, just go ahead and go back and catch those because you'll want context. In the first episode, I talked about ego and maybe being overconfident in situations. And sometimes we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. I don't know why I said that. That's weird. But the second one was about accountability. So when things don't go the way we were expecting them to, if we make a mistake, where can we be accountable? So this whole experience and these lessons were pulled from a recent experience my husband and I and our son had. We went out for dinner and we didn't have the best experience at this place that we normally really do. And I'm over it. You know what? Yes, we tipped. If anybody's wondering, oh, did you leave a tip? Yes, of course we tipped. You know what? Don't sweat the small stuff really at the end of the day. But there were so many things that really pulled out of this experience in terms of, our businesses and when we make mistakes or when the service isn't as great. We've all been on that end, but how can we check to make sure that we're offering the best that we can for our clients and our customers? So I focused on ego and overconfidence. I focused on accountability. And today I really want to talk about recovery. So in those moments where things didn't quite work out, when we can check ourselves to make sure, okay, I'm a little high up on my horse right now. I need to bring it down, or, make sure that you can back it up. If you say you can do this, this, and this, and this, boy, you better make sure you can do that, and that. So just those little reminders. So again, with this experience at the restaurant, I shared most of the details in the first 2 episodes. Now at this point, if you've all caught up, we've got our food, they've fixed everything. So the items that we were supposed to get, we got, we're enjoying our meals. And towards the end of our restaurant visit, the manager came by and he said, thanks so much for your patience. I'm going to give you our staff discount and take 15% off of your bill. And thought, okay, sure, thanks. But in all honesty, okay, this was a nice gesture. Obviously, the manager on duty could recognize that there were quite a few instances where things were just not going right. And so while that was appreciated, it got me thinking really more after the fact. And it's not about the percentage, but 15%, it worked out to be like $6 off the bill. I don't care. I'm happy to pay in full. I'm happy to pay for the service. I'm happy to pay for the food. So the more I kind of sat on it, I thought, I almost wish I said, well, don't worry about discounting it for $6 off. I think I really was hoping more for that accountability from the server. Again, I'm over it at this point. But I think it would have gone a much longer way if someone had said, hey, you know what? We realized we messed up tonight. And we just wanted to apologize and make this right. Is there something we can do to make this right? We really appreciate your patronage. Patronage, is that a word? Yeah. Customer loyalty. Maybe that's easier for me to say. So again, the recovery. I won't even touch base more on this actual experience, but it did kind of trigger, how can we recover when we make a mistake? And if you listen to episode 2, I talked about it. Spoiler, you're going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. We're going to fuck up with our clients and our customers. We're going to overpromise and then realize, oh my gosh, we've stretched ourselves too thin. It happens, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners. We are going, through the motions and through the flow. And sometimes things are new and sometimes we don't expect things to happen the way they did. So at some point, yeah, we're going to make a mistake. And so if we can be accountable to that, that's one thing. Checking the ego to make sure we're not, over promising outside of what we know we can actually accomplish. And then the recovery for that time, eventually, when it does happen, how can we recover? And so that instance with the restaurant, 15% off, I was like, okay, like $6, woo. Like it just didn't have the impact. And so I wanted to share that, where what are ways then when we make a mistake? But I think the first thing is when we can be accountable, that's going to help the recovery process, right? When we can take ownership and say, listen, I made a mistake and I'd like to make this right. And not just I'll give you 10% off your services. Well, customer might think like, okay. Again, without the accountability, that's not going to really mix. Maybe if, you have the accountability and then providing some type of incentive or discount or additional work or whatever it is, that might bode a little bit better. But I think without accountability and the recovery working in tandem, you're going to hit like a wall on that one. And so just really thinking about when you do make those mistakes, for one thing, accountable, apologize, take ownership, and then really think of how can I make this situation better? Of course, this is going to range. If it's a big, big flop, you might have to eat that. You might have to say, listen, this is on the house. This is going to be taken care of for you. So really try to analyze, and put yourself in that position. Like if this were me, perhaps someone's relying on a big, big project and like their deadline was really firm and you can't meet it. You got to come up with some big way to recover because your reputation is riding on it, especially as solopreneurs. We very much rely on the referrals of others. So really focusing on the moment where you've made a mistake, make sure you're taking ownership, but really focusing on opportunities to recover. And, doing a small little discount might not cut it. That actually might insult someone down the road. It might really be a slap in the face to your customer. And so your situation would be unique. But just thinking about if it were me, and sometimes it sucks. Oh, it sucks. It sucks to admit you're wrong and that you made a mistake, and it's scary, and it's, that angst of how are they going to react? But I do think with that, they will find you to be honest and can probably recover from. And at the end of the day, if they can't, that happens too. But doing your best to recover from those situations is really important. So I hope that makes sense. So a little recap, making sure that you can promise, if you're going to deliver on something and you've promised, like make sure you can do it. We don't need show-offs. That's another big lesson. Don't show off. You don't need to. Being confident, absolutely, as long as you can back it up. And so in that situation, I would have never faulted our server for writing it down. I'm not impressed that you can remember a burger order, a turkey burger order, and a mac and cheese order. But you couldn't even remember that. Again, I'm not pointing names at this specific server. I'm just trying to make a point. It would not have offended me if she had written it down and read it back to us. It would be like, great, now I know, we get it. Yeah, everybody's happy. So let's check our egos here and there. And then that inevitable time when we do make those mistakes, people will respect you and you can say, I made a mistake. It was my fault. I see where I made the mistake and I'm going to make this better. And that's where it comes in that recovery of like, hey, I just want to let you know I've taken care of this for you. Thanks so much for your patience. The experience doesn't have to end where the error happens. It's just another opportunity. So food for thought, little pun there because it's a restaurant story. Think about that the next time, you're servicing with your clients and your customers and checking that ego and making sure that when you do make those mistakes, you know what? Don't be afraid. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just find those ways where you can say, hey, I'm accountable to this and I'm going to make it up to you this way. I hope that was helpful. I can't wait to share some more stories. This is where my mind gets a little bit buzzing. And I actually have another one coming up really, really soon because in stories, there's always a lesson. And so my hope is that these episodes that I'm sharing each and every week are just ways to make you think outside the box and to get curious and to support you in growing your business and feeling less alone. So I appreciate you tuning in each and every week to the Creative Marketing Show, and I will be back with another episode very, very soon.